Hi, it's Pastor Steve, and we're continuing our journey cover to cover. Today is January 28, and we are looking at the book of Job again, and we're going from chapter 32 to 34. The person we're hearing speak is somebody we have not heard of before. His name is Elihu. He's a Buzzite, and that's a bizarre name. Who is he? We think he's probably a relative of Abraham. Again, one of the reasons why we put the reading of the book of Job right after the book of Genesis. It seems to be in that ballpark. Now, Elihu is critiquing both Job and the other three comforters. And he feels that he has a fresh argument. In reality, he seems to be saying similar things as the other comforters, but in a different tone. As I look at Elihu, there are a few things, though, he says, which I see a hint of things to come in terms of God ultimately speaking to Job, but also truisms that are borne out in the New Testament. The first comes in chapter 33, verse 4, in which Elihu says, "The Spirit of God made me, Almighty gives me life." And I think that's right. When we know our origins, that is very helpful for understanding who we are and what is going on in our life. Next, in verse 14 of that same chapter, he says, "God speaks, but people don't listen." Have you found that? I certainly have. Now, a person who has written about this is William Blake. He is a Christian poet of more than 100 years ago. And this is William Blake's picture of Elihu talking to the three comforters, Job, and I think it's supposed to be Job's wife who is bent over. And I just want you to see this as Elihu continues to speak. In verse 24 of chapter 33, he says something which is true about God, in particular because of Jesus Christ. It says he ransoms our life. And in the context, the sense is he's arguing to Job, if you would acknowledge your failure, God comes in to buy you back. And not only that, verse 26, your prayers will be accepted. You will be rescued from the grave. Now, these are true statements. Now, in the world of looking at Job, we know behind the scenes that Job did not do any grievous sin, which Elihu seems to think he has. But what Elihu says that is absolutely true is that we who are sinners, if we will humbly acknowledge it, God accepts us back. He ransoms us. And the New Testament reveals that ransom was paid by Jesus Christ. In the Old Testament, that ransom would be ultimately a temporary one through an animal sacrifice. But we see some nuggets of truth in Elihu's argument. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this picture is because the person who drew it, William Blake, wrote a poem. Some of you will have heard it. It's called Tiger, Tiger. Now, I want you to see a picture of this tiger. Pretty impressive. Now, listen to the poem. And I know some of you aren't into poems, but it is really a magnificent poem. Blake writes this: "Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry?" I want you to look at that face and see the fearful, it's a tiger, but the symmetry, the perfection of that. He goes on, "And what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer? What the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil? What dread grass dare its deadly terror's clasp, when the stars drew down their spears and watered heaven with their tears? Did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Why do I read this poem in the context of this? There are so many things I don't understand, that we don't understand. Why is there evil in the world? Why is there evil in my life? And yet I look at the tiger and I see the mastery, the artistry of a God paying attention to every detail. And yet some of those details are a little scary. All right, lots to ponder, lots to reflect on. See you tomorrow.